Hey there, so today I want to take a little blast from the past and look at an older tweet by John Malin, and the reason for that is twofold. Number one, I want to show something that is beyond the recent controversy, because I keep hearing people say that the man is divisive, and I do not believe that. I believe that he said something that a lot of people don't want to look at themselves with, and I do believe it was political, and I don't believe in that political pulpit. I've said that in other videos, but I'll say that here again. That being said, John Malin is the reason that I bought cable. Not because of his political ideology or anything like that, but because he was welcoming and inclusive. Now, the second thing that I want to point out with this is that there are people literally arguing against inclusion. It is the most baffling thing I've ever seen, but it exists nonetheless. So let's look at the post first. Comics are a team effort. When one team member goes social media rogue on fans, telling them not to buy quote unquote their book because of differences in personal political opinion, it is at the expense of the product, the retailer, the distributor, the publisher, and their own teammates. Now, that's very true. There are a lot of people that are out there saying, hey, you don't like that, don't buy my product, and you have titles dying by the droves. You also have people that are labeling and disparaging customers. They're doing all types of things, and it is at the expense of comics. That's one of the things that hit me when this came out. Literally, think about this. This drove me to buy a comic book. Can you think about setting the bar as low as this to call that a catalyst to buy? People want to buy your books. They just want to feel welcome as well. Blockchains are not welcoming. Calling people ists or phobe, that is not welcoming. All these things, they push people away, and that is essentially the face of Marvel. Now, seeing this post elicited a response from me. Exactly what most are requesting these days is an inclusive environment where everyone focuses on what is important. Comics, not politics or identity or other things that derail. Everyone wants to feel appreciated. If something doesn't fuel that, it's not rocket science. Thanks. So, I got a comment back for that. I disagree. Inclusive means people with different identities are included too. Now, I don't see where that says that people with different identities are not included. It's saying that we don't focus on all of these things. We focus on something that lets everyone feel like they're part of it. So I responded, isn't that exactly what we said? Everyone enters, everyone is allowed, and the people putting on the show, the companies, their reps, etc., foster an all-inclusive atmosphere because professional over politics, etc. Pro's not doing that? Well, it's not pro or professional. Now, then we get into this argument that goes over the colorblindness and all of that. The quote, I'm colorblind talk / let's all get along, unquote, is usually easy to use when one is not from a minority group. When one is part of the quote unquote other, it is not easy to just ignore when you are systematically represented or not represented at all. This guy goes on. This entire thread is about how white guys feel that they have no place in comics at Marvel, specifically because for the first time in 70 years, other people got a shot at being the stars of a few comics. This thread is a dog whistle, and Marvel's drop in sales is blamed on a few diverse comics, not the bad sale practices that have crippled the company for decades and just pushed away readers who could not keep up with reboots and high cover prices. That the diverse comics sell well outside of comic stores where non-white male readers feel they can go to or use without being dismissed is not even considered. Digital comic sales at Marvel are up. It's the comic stores that suffer. So basically, we've gone from everyone should be included to, hey, this is a dog whistle because white guys are complaining. And hey, the only thing that really fosters this environment, it's comic shops. Those things, they're to blame because they do not foster an inclusive environment. So I respond to that. Right. You know why people don't buy all of the things you noted above? Because saying act professional, aka include all, apparently need not apply to some. Want to disparage white straight males? As pros, they do. Often. Why is all are welcome so hard to get? All. My second day on Twitter, I bore witness to some of the ugliest rants imaginable by a few pros based on identity, gender, race. Ugly. Now, I use comics and mental health to assist people. I can't pick up a dozen copies of Book X where a pro might not foster inclusiveness for it because it impacts people of all races, creeds, etc. I get that pros are people too and that they make mistakes. It's part of life. I simply hope that we can have an environment whereby everyone can be made feel welcome because the community is inclusive. That's this message. Everyone. And he goes on, but this thread and your own initial message, which I criticized, has been about putting the blame about the toxic environment on liberals. So liberals pops out of nowhere. Here, let's go back to the beginning here. All right, let's check this out here. So where is liberals here? Not politics or identity or other things that derail. Everyone wants to feel appreciated. Okay. Do you see anything about liberals here as well? No. It's because this person wants to make it about something else. They argue bad faith later on. That's why I bring things up. So a toxic environment on liberals. That crap goes on from all sides. It's ignored. It's all because of some annoying people and their identity politics, right? I said not politics. Does that say not liberal politics? You're making a lot of additions, which is the poison pen of Twitter. I love people. You don't love all people? People are people. So that's a no then. Maybe it's naive, but I'd hope for all to feel welcome by positivity. Now you have other people sounding off within this as well. You can't argue with identity politics, intersectional theorizing. It's created to be incompatible with debate. It's a waste of breath, matey. Read some extra cable in celebration of finding an awesome creator. Yeah, I should have probably gone with that, but still I engaged. So we have our despondent here. This thread is quickly turning into progressive shut the bleep up. It's doing the opposite of making people feel Marvel is worth people's money. Well, I hate to break it to you, bud, but I felt for a long time that Marvel has not been worth people's money. And when you look at this, where does it say anything about progressivism? That's the insanity here. There are people that are actually agreeing with the fact that, this guy, what he said, well, there were two people that agreed with the fact that Marvel shouldn't be funded. Now, I doubt very much that those people buy comic books. I've looked at a lot of their accounts, and they do not support it. So we have someone else signing in. Progressives ought to feel welcome enjoying Marvel comics, as well as liberals, centrists, and right-wingers. That's the vibe I'm getting from this thread, and I'm loving it. This guy comes back. That is not what I've read below. Do you want me to retweet specifically the tweets that did not measure up to what you argue this thread is about? So I come in again. Even if specific tweets by fans don't measure up in your opinion, does that detract from the original poster's comments? They're inviting everyone. You're arguing against community inclusion. You're saying because X group or because X politics, and people are answering no, all. It's baffling. So he comes back with, you just don't see logical flaws. I have already laid down the various dog whistles, but you do not want to see them. Comics have always been political. There was never a time that they were not. If John Malin was really doing what you said he did with his initial invitation, he would have stepped in already and said something like, dude, I hear ya. We'll be better in the future. Instead, he's been retweeting and liking anything that criticizes me. So I come back in with, wait. So you take what others have said on inviting all into the comics community as criticism too. You decided to go back and add things that weren't there to argue against inclusion in an industry where local comic shops are dying. You seem fine with that. It's off, frankly. Local comic stores are dying because readers' information practices, consumption of media for non-academics are changing. They have been losing ground since the 90s. That's actually in bad faith there. Since the 90s. The 90s, there were 10 million copies of something like X-Men #1 that were sold because people thought there was this huge investment market. It was a fake bubble. I was there. I saw it. Digital comics are, in fact, hurting print comics sold through comic stores. Should we ban digital comics? So we're into, I swear, like, this is insane listening to this. What is happening to comic stores is happening to many industries affected by digital technologies. It's called creative destruction in economics and a way to increase and renew capitalism and business through innovation. Innovation should not be blocked to protect old industries. So somehow we have spun this into we're not including minorities. That was the first argument point. Let me go back to this. So the first point was I don't understand because I'm not a minority group. The second point is this is about white guys. The third portion is, hey, we're not including diverse comics. Then hey, this is about liberal politics. And then it was progressives being told to shut up. Then we somehow got to various dog whistles about comics. They've been political. Then we go to, hey, look at new media there. Maybe we should ban digital comics. Is that what you're saying? So I said, yeah, the digital revolution you're advocating for comics will take out those falsely inflating numbers due to collectible status, further diminishing sales and lowering numbers. It's a different world for comics, though. 1990s, 10 million X-Men #1 sales. 2017, 301,000 top seller. If this industry doesn't wake up, it will continue to diminish that because people will walk away. I've considered it a great deal. Why? Because professionals throughout the industry are hateful. When thousands do so, who replaces us right now? No one. And again, you are using a confounding variable. So I'm using a confounding variable. Only a minority of readers spend time on social media interacting with creators. Most comic readers are unaware about fights. What they do know is that there are too many reboots, higher prices, many events, and that digital comics work. I have to say that if you're driving away and blocking 10,000 accounts and they all talk about comics, how many readers does that make up for? If you said even a fraction of that drop out, if it's talking about a comic that only sells 30,000 comics, how many people can they have to take a hit there? Now, this person engages quite a few other people within this thread. You know, if you're so inclined, you can go through. You can look at the different engagements. I have other engagements with him as well. Some of those he did delete after the fact. You know, I should have recorded this stuff back when, but I was not doing this type of video. But you can still see how this argument goes. He'll have people that come in, if it's a female that says, hey, you know, I actually buy at the local comic shop. Well, you know, that doesn't count because that data, it's not valid. You're just talking about your own experience. You're not talking about everyone's experience. Person of color comes in, says the same thing. They don't count, and so on. It's very dismissive, and it's all thrown in under the auspices of inclusion. It's the most insane thing. So anyway, I thought it would be interesting to see not only where John Malin, like what I think is really a good reflection of him, but also to show the other side of that basically they take offense with everything. They think that they're being assaulted when they're not. You literally are saying, hey, everybody's welcome, and it turns into, hey, why are you disparaging progressive politics? It's crazy. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. You know, it's a little walk through insanity. Bye. Outro now. This sucks now. Still, we saw some crazy people now.